Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever it is.
We got reverb now, so we're all, you got to put your thing down.
Oh, reverb.
Your volume down. You got reverb.
Me.
Yeah.
Okay. I tell you what I'm going to do. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make things much easier.
David, continue with the intro while he does this. This is very exciting.
I'm
All right.
I'm flabbergasted. There's no other word for it. I mean, I'm sure all the people who are listening to this on a podcast now are all deaf or have gone deaf thanks to all of this.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
You can't hear me. Okay. Back again to see our favorite DJ, Rob Vega.
This is World Voice. Right. This is World Voice Guy. This is not just a South African legend. This is World Voice Guy.
Well, I understood he was a legend in his own bathroom, but there you go.
Well, he's a legend in his own mind. I'll tell you that. I mean,
yeah. So anyway, we're back, and we're back simply because when we left him last time, he had numerous questions.
He forgot.
That he forgot. And Rob said to us, well, look, guys, it's now time for me to interview you two and find out a little bit more about you, couple of old farts. So, yeah.
Is that what I said? Is that what I said?
Yeah. If you watch the last show you were on, which we know you didn't, then you would know that because you started to ask the questions at the end. However, before the show started, we were talking about the Florida governor. And for the people that don't know, we're going to do this topic. And for the people that don't know, why not? Because just your reactions are great. The governor of Florida decided that he was going to ship 50 illegal aliens. And I didn't know people from Pluto were coming here, but what do I know? 50 illegal aliens to Marthas Vineyard. However, Florida only gets apparently 1 or 2 illegal immigrants on a monthly basis. So he took the 50 illegal aliens that he shipped. He took them from Texas. And they printed a fake brochure with the wrong flag of the Massachusetts state, the wrong state flag. They found some fakakta artwork from some guy, even the Washington Post wrote about this, that they found wrong artwork. They put it in the brochure. People got on a plane, sent them to Marthas Vineyard. Now what's happening, whether it was right or wrong, we're not discussing that yet. Now what's happening, there's a Texas sheriff who is investigating the governor of Florida for human trafficking, because technically that's what he did.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Yes, when mommy and daddy get together, they make a baby, and then what happens is a dragon comes out. I've been watching the show.
Yeah, there you have. I was just wondering why anybody would want to make all those Sting clones, because he was an illegal alien, wasn't he? Sting. And then the other question is, how big is Martha's Vineyard? Because it must be pretty big. No, I mean, I've only got a small garden. I couldn't get more than about 10 illegal immigrants.
Full-time residents of Marthas Vineyard is probably under 20,000. And then during the season, it'll blow up.
That's a big garden.
Yeah, but are adding 50 illegal aliens is no big deal. And they opened up their doors and their hearts and they were very nice. But DeSantis is like, we should send 300,000. That's like putting 300,000 people in like a 7-Eleven. Like here, no, please, all go into 7-Eleven. It's just the economy of scale. Yes, the man in the corner, the bathroom is to the left. Yes.
Thank you. Who pays for that?
Well, the 7-Eleven, you mean?
The 7-Eleven, I'm sure, is the franchise people. I'm assuming the state of Florida paid for it, which means anybody who pays, well, we don't have an income tax in Florida. So your state tax that your 6, 7, 8%, whatever it is, when you buy food or you buy whatever, that paid for it. So there's no state tax. It's not like a New York thing where, we make $1 in New York and the city and the state and the county takes all of it.
You have no no personal income tax if you live in Florida?
All right. So Florida, Texas, Wyoming, because, between buffaloes and 6 people, Nevada, because you have gambling. And of course, the oldest profession, investment bankers going to gamble. And then you have Alaska. Those are the 5 states in America that you pay no personal income from things that you earn, but you still pay federal. So the government's going to get their, if you will, their 30% or whatever it is at the end of the day. But if you're living in the other states, so like when I lived in New York, I got New York, and what'll end up happening is that if you make $100, you pay the Fed, you pay the city, you pay the county, and you pay the state. So let's say if you make $100, you walk away with somewhere between like 45 and 50 cents. Some of it you'll get back, but that's kind of how it works. And then in Florida, let's say, or Texas, if you make $100, you'll walk away with like 65 to 70 cents.
Crazy.
Welcome to America. We're a great country.
Yeah, I thought this was the land of opportunity, but it sounds like
it is. It's a land of taxation. It's a great opportunity.
For you.
Not for you. Yes, don't. We have a sign.
You.
Yeah, Statue of Liberty. You know, the old sign was like, "Give us you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry." Now it just basically says, "Stay the fuck out." So that's how we look at it. Or we ship you to Martha's Vineyard, which isn't bad because now the tennis courts are all full. So we got that going for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
all right.
listen, it's not as bad as Brazil, where the president's going up for re-election and he's literally doing the coup of 2020 with the people of Brazil, saying that if he loses, it's fixed and everybody wants to kill him and there's going to be blood in the streets. And so, for our
Bolsonaro,
experiment, So for our experiment of democracy here in America for the last 200 plus years, it's still the best place to be.
Yeah.
Like the coup attempt failed. So that's a positive. In Brazil, not sure how that's going to go. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, and this morning, of course, Italy has its first female president, and
well, that's okay.
And she is from the Benito Mussolini school of thought.
Well, there's a lot to be said for that because when they get rid of you, they play soccer with /football with your head. So I mean, there's a nice, it's good things like that.
So the whole world seems to be leaning, and Europe seems to be leaning towards the right. I suppose we have to thank Mr. Trump for that because he kind of made being very right wing, very fashionable.
Can I say something about Trump?
Are you on this show, Roald? It just seems to be Steve and I at the moment.
Can I say something about Trump?
We would love you to.
Without going one way or the other, I will say I like to keep it positive because there's obviously a ton of negative. But the positive thing is, the one thing that always used to bug me about America was how things worked so great. People they'd moan, but they wouldn't get involved. They were kind of involved with politics, but the general mass, the turnout for elections it's never been great.
Right. It's
never been good. It's never been for a top democracy. You think, why isn't everybody there? Yes, I know there's no holidays given off, which also is another weird thing, how you're supposed to vote. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But I will say this for the guy. He certainly got people fired up about things, which is
so did Hitler.
Which I think, but the thing is,
and Mussolini, don't forget him.
Yeah, he riled people up, and I think rightly or wrongly, misinformation, information, whatever you want to call it, they seem to be a little bit more involved, which is good. I think
that sounds like fake news to me. That just sounds like fake news.
Fake news. No, I mean, if I look at this country where I am, I mean, people literally died for the right to vote. It's a big deal here for people to vote. Right. And when you go when I live,
are you in New York as well? Then is that what you're trying? Are you in New York now as well or not?
Who?
You, Rob? Are you in New York?
No, I'm still in Jersey.
I thought I understood from Steve that I had to say New York regularly, so I thought I'd get it in.
Every time we say New York, the city pays us $1, so we say it at least 100 times a show. So
Dave has said it, so that's fine.
We're good now.
Now what was
I'm sorry, I was interrupting you. You were making actually a very valid point about people paying with their lives for democracy.
No, I think Steve's.
I'm sorry to be so flippant about that.
Steve is valid. It's not perfect, but it's the best that we've got right now. That is hands down. But the problem is you want it to be better. And if you have any feeling for it, and if you've traveled around the world, that was something I was going to talk about with you guys about travel. Right. I find, when people say Americans this, I always get upset because I go, you get the people that live in, I don't know, just pick a state that doesn't have a great track record on something and look at those people. And then you look at people in New York. A lot of people have traveled. They've moved around the world. They couldn't be more different. Their awareness of the world, politics, global positioning. They're from the same country, but you literally can't put them in the same box. So I always find it's such a varied country. There's so many different people. It's almost impossible to put the label American onto someone because I have encountered such a vast array of people that have that label. That's all I was going to say. But that being said, it is the best, but there's a lot wrong. And we all just want it to work because goodness knows look what the rest of the clowns out around the world are doing. So if America doesn't work, then we've got a problem. That's really what it's about. It's largely an immigrant country. It's people from around the world who build something. What am I going? This is like American tourism 101 here. But I've always felt that it's a wonderful spot. And sometimes I think, and people may disagree with me, but I think a lot of the people that live in America are quite, first of all, they're lucky, and second of all, I think they take a hell of a lot for granted, and they are they really should know what they've got. Yes, you can moan about stuff. Of course you can. It's almost an English right to moan about everything. But at some point you've got to say, look what we've got. We've got something really good. And it's not perfect, but damn, travel around the world. And I can tell you now, that's why people want to move there. It's a great place. But by the same token, if I had my way, I'd like to boot some of the people out there out and put some more deserving people in. Because I think there's some very deserving people that could do stuff in America and make it even. You talk about America being great. A lot of those people that could do that don't live in America. And a lot of the people in America are doing nothing about making it great. That's just my take.
No. And here's the other thing. And here's the other thing to that is that all these Congress people, when they had to certify the election, like there was 100 plus of them that still wouldn't certify and say it's all scam. How do you want to run for office for a democracy when you don't want to stand up for the democracy? And the people who stand up for democracy are usually the immigrants, right? Because they're excited, because they know what it's like to go through hell and back. All these silver spoon little babies, they don't know squat. So it's sort of like, it's like, oh, look at me. No, look at you. Stand up for what the Constitution says. I mean, most of them, they carry their little book. They don't even know what it says. It doesn't say if my guy doesn't win, we have an insurgent. It says, this is our process. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. Russia, I hear, is looking for people, and they're rioting. Iran and rioting over the girl. So I mean, there's other. Why don't you go there? I'm sure they would love you. And I think to your point of earlier, and I don't know if it was on or off air, when we talked about Trump getting people excited. So did Hitler, so did Mussolini, so did, Stalin. I mean, we can go through the list, right?
Yeah.
But at least it got people thinking. The problem is that he got them thinking in, unfortunately, 1930 Nazi Germany, because it's not a peaceful dialogue. It's like, I could disagree with either one of you and we can have a dialogue. And when we're done, we can still go have scotch and cigars and have a great time.
Tell me,
people.
Steve, go ahead.
But people now don't do that. They argue and they want to go to blows over it. I'm like, you got to be kidding.
It's the one little bugbear I have about American politics and the way it works. I understand it was developed almost as a confrontational system. I understand that for that very reason, to prevent tyranny and so on and so forth. But one thing I will say is, and this is my sort of English imperial background coming through, and that is watch debates in the House of Parliament.
They're the best.
No, but hang on. But here's the thing: you can have guys that literally it gets so ugly and so personal, and they have a beer afterwards. And this is what America needs to learn to do. You, of course, you mustn't agree. Of course, you must debate. But they make it so personal, and then it feeds into the country. It feeds into media to the point where people are just divided just because they're from a different political party, which is absolutely ludicrous. And this adherence to one party is crazy. That is the opposite of democracy. You should just pick what party works for you. Just because your dad was this and your mom was that and whatever. I mean, I've got family in the UK where you've got maybe 6 people in the house and there's 6 different parties that they follow. That's fine. But there's this two-party system in America, which is kind of close to a one-party system. And I think people need more choice, but they need to learn how to disagree without getting personal about it. And that's the problem.
Killing each other.
So it's gotten there's so much vitriol and hatred and if a Democrat comes up with a good idea, a Republican just trashes it just because it's a Democrat, and vice versa. That is ludicrous. That is something that does concern me. And that is, I think, a threat to democracy, big time. Just saying.
Well, when I was a kid, the first time I ever watched the British Parliament was on PBS. And now anytime I can see it on YouTube Live, that is the funniest 45 minutes to an hour. I'm like, my respected gentleman from, wherever, man. And then they go at it like, your mother's a cow. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Yeah, mother was a sow. And they go back and forth. And then they discuss the topic. And then we're all done. My right old friend and I will be having a pint later. I'm like, I love you guys. You're the best. I mean, like, to me, that's like, now that's politics. In America now, it's like, we just want to shoot each other. And I'm like, yeah, that's got to stop. We don't reach across the aisle.
Well, Steve, it's just a bit more grown up, mate. That's what it is.
Well, you guys, you guys have been around a while.
I mean, have you ever seen two Scottish fellas greeting each other in an airport? It gets ugly, but they love each other. And people who don't understand, they go, are they going to rip each other apart? No, this is great. It's forget about it. Go and play with the children. I mean, it's fantastic. But there's this adherence to tribes in America, which it bothers me. I don't think it's healthy. If you're a Republican and you think a Democrat's got a good idea and you stand up in Congress and say that, whoa, we're going to get rid of him. No.
Well, Lynn Cheney, that's what happened to her. I mean, out of Wyoming.
Exactly. Now, I mean, when Boris was on his last legs there, his own party guys were turning on him in the chamber right there. Right. I'm not just going to support the guy because he has the same party, but he's an idiot. So this is what I'm going to say. It's almost like America, which is supposed to be a bastion of free speech, doesn't seem to be one.
We lost our free speech centuries ago. I think, back in the day, probably, maybe I'm thinking in the 1900s to a point. And then all of a sudden, when they started to censor things and you couldn't do this and you couldn't do that. And it's got worse and worse and worse. If you start looking at like Lenny Bruce couldn't swear, you couldn't do this. Well, why not? It's not hurting anybody. It's not doing this. It's not doing that. Right. So if you look at it, as much as we have free speech and you can disagree to a point, you can't. Right. And now it's getting worse because now there's these woke people. And anytime you say something they disagree with, they cancel culture. So I commend the people who literally say, go F yourself. I'm not apologizing for what I said. It's what I feel. And when I think we do that, we're no better than anything else. So great. We have an election every 4 years. Okay. But if you can't say what you think, I'm sorry, I hurt your feelings. Then grow a pair of balls.
But strangely enough, Dave was mentioning that, Trump has introduced a lot of this to the party, as it were. But I will say, and funnily enough, I saw this on a British program. I think might have been on one of the Sky News debates and chats as Trump had been elected, and people going, "What has happened?" And somebody made the comment, and they said, "Well, America were just getting fed up with what was, and they wanted someone to roll a piece of political dynamite across the table, and that's what they got. This is what they wanted. They wanted to shake things up. They were sick and tired of being politically correct, watching what they were saying, blah, blah, blah." And quite frankly, I think that is part of the reason why Trump came along, because they thought, oh, great, now, this is different. We don't want all that. This is good. They didn't really worry about his personal situation or his ethics or whatever. They didn't care. They just wanted something different.
What's that?
I get it. Exactly. And the strange thing is I get why he got in. I get why they just wanted something different, a change. And the thing is, the political machine in Congress is still what it was. And the danger is that the people who fed up with that, yes, they might not have a drink with Donald Trump, but they're going to go back to him. They will, because he represents almost like a personal freedom for them. And
no,
just
Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis now, I think.
Yeah.
I think Ron DeSantis is going to give Trump a run for his money.
You think he's the new guy on the block, do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Last month, Trump's Make America Great campaign. You know how much money they raised for him?
Tell me.
$40. In the month of August, they raised $40. The month before, they raised like 3 or 4 million, but apparently in August, they raised $40. So I don't know, people may just be getting fed up. I think they see Ron DeSantis as the next, like Trump, the next thing past whatever Trump is. So I think that's kind of where that's heading. So this is going to prove to be very interesting.
I just thought of something. DeSantis. DeSantis.
I like that. We should be his political guys. I can see that now.
Absolutely.
Well, I have a theory as to who will be the next in the next 5 years, the American president. It'll be.
I have to turn it down. I have to turn it down, but thank you.
It will be Boris Johnson.
No, that'll be Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, Boris Johnson. He was born in the US. He has a US
Yes.
passport.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
And so he's
He was.
quite qualified to bring more lunacy to the US of A.
Well, I know when Trump was running,
Ugh.
I said to one of my buddies, I said, Saturday Night Live for the next 4 years is going to be great. And it was. So if Boris Johnson became president here because of that, Saturday night would really be, they'd be like back in 1976 or 7 when you had Chevy Chase and Eddie Murphy and John Belushi and all those guys, Dan Aykroyd and Gilda and all that.
We gave you Farage anyway, to sort of give you a little bit of an ease in. He was over there, sort of doing his thing with Mr. Trump, or President Trump, I should say. I have a reasonable amount of respect.
Good mates.
Good mates. And Farage.
And Putin too. He likes Putin, and the North Korean guy, Missile Boy. He likes him.
Yeah.
And he likes the what's-him-called guy from Xi from China, which I actually like him. I think he's got a clue. I think he's got to open up his country. Xi Jinping. I like Xi. I've read a lot of stuff. I know he's going to be dictator for life like now, which is fine. But I think he's got to now loosen the reins on the COVID thing, or they're going to have an economy that's going to look like 1929 United States pretty soon, because everybody's kind of defaulting on their bonds and defaulting on this, defaulting on that. And, it's a whole thing. We're going back to isolation instead of globalization, which is kind of weird. So what do I know? I read a book.
Yeah. Well,
you're right, Dave. People don't know that Boris. I don't know if they know that. Yeah, born in
I
New
just
York.
found out. He was born in New York.
Yeah.
That's 4 New York mentions now.
Yeah.
You know what that means?
That's right. That's New York. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing my best to make Steve as rich as I possibly can by saying.
I appreciate that.
And I understand that you're now getting $5 a pop as American ambassador, tourist ambassador.
Tourist ambassador for New York, we get $5.
No, Mr. Vega, because he's
Absolutely.
he's on the love fest today for the USA in general. I think.
I see that.
Oh, I've always been a fan. I think it's fantastic, but I get annoyed with a lot of people there because I want to slap them and say, what are you doing? You're messing it up. It was made so nice for you, and now what the hell are you doing? Seriously, not all of you, but a bunch of you.
A lot of people in Europe have issues. Because with Americans, because all they see are busloads of tourists who do Europe in a week,
right?
And so and that's culturally very, very difficult because people are But the other really strange thing, and I never realized it. I think I was about 14 or 15. My father.
Wait, you remember that far back?
Yeah, I remember that far back.
Okay.
He couldn't get me out of the library. I was always in the library reading books, and I had this thirst for knowledge. And he gave me, or he bought me, a subscription to the National Geographic, and that was like the whole world opened up for me then. And then later on in life, I realized that all the maps and everything that came out free from the National Geographic, that when you looked at them, the USA was always in the middle. And then when you went to looked at maps that were produced in Europe or in the UK, the USA was no longer in the middle. And I think that's very much about the American mentality. They feel they're very much in the middle of civilization as it is, and like you said earlier on, the world is looking to them, looking for leadership.
Well, I'm going to can I just say something? And again, this is my American tourism money I'm earning here.
Well, another $5.
Thank you. New York. So
you're just making Stephen rich now.
There you go. So here's the thing. So obviously I'm a lad that was born in London. I grew up there a bit, grew up in South Africa, I've lived in all these countries. And so I think I've got a nice objective opinion about all three. I'm not going to say I know everything because America is large. It's 50 territories in my view. It's not one country. But I will say a lot of those things that Americans, they've got everything and all that. Well, they kind of do. When I lived there, people said, you can, for instance, if you live in Connecticut, in an hour or two, you can be in, you can go to the Catskills, and in an hour or two, you're in Boston, and an hour or two, you're in New York. You don't really need to go anywhere else. You can buy anything, do anything, see anything, have anything. And it's not hard to imagine that you would be quite comfortable in a place where you could do all that. So I understand why they are like that. I would encourage people to travel, and the ones that do go, oh, wow. But at the same time, I feel like you can't judge people who are in basically a really well-run place, as much as they might bitch about it.
I mean, Disney
and when
World.
they go out, they're pretty proud of it, and that's fine. I just wish they wouldn't, argue about stupid crap in Congress and stuff, and just get on with the business of, making America great.
You'd have to get rid of the lobbyists then for that to happen, because the lobbyists are why they all argue. They all get money and all this. But it's funny because you talk to people, like they'll go, "Well, I don't need to travel. I went to Epcot." I'm like, "Really? Okay, that's great. Maybe you should want to immerse yourself longer than 25 minutes in a country and Disney World with a big mouse." So, but it's sort of like, I've been fortunate. I've traveled the globe, for personal stuff and for work. I've been in countries I can't even pronounce the name. And I've been to countries where I can pronounce the name. So, and I've eaten stuff and met people, and it's been a wild, it's like, the Disney World, the Mad Hatter ride. It's been a wild ride. So I wouldn't trade it for the world. And there's been times where I've been like, I want to get out of here. And there's other times where I'm like, okay, we're good. So, it's one of those things. So, but you got to travel and meet people. And at the end of the day, everybody puts their pants on the same way, with two gentlemen holding each leg. So, and that's it. That's as simple as it is. I mean, like as much as everybody says everyone's different, whether it's skin color or sexual preference or whatever, we're all the same at the end of the day. And that's what I think people that don't travel don't realize, because when the husband and wife divorced, they're still brother and sister, but they haven't been able to go out and explore like the planet and see that everybody's basically the same, and at the end of the day, that's it.
Stephen, did you want to come back and live in the US? Obviously, because you're well traveled, so you had an opportunity to choose somewhere else, or were you forced to come back? Or
well, work wise, yeah, because offices were here. I've lived in Australia, I've lived in the UK. And then, for extended periods of times for gigs. And then I've also not lived, but been places 3 and 4 months at a clip, like South America when we were doing the Red and other type of deals. And, we've been to Russia and the Ukraine, and we've had to live there, like a month here and there. So everyone's just a person, and everyone gets along. Like first time I went to France, I remember everyone's like, the French, they're so rude. They're so this. I walked into this thing, my big goofy me, and I went, bonjour. And the little French girl was like, it's bonjour. I'm like, okay, well, bonjour. And I tried to speak, my university French, which that's not going to work. And she says, you could speak English. I'm like, great. And I spoke to her, and we very nice, go right on, shop right around the Louvre, not the Louvre, or the Louvre. So my friend's wife goes into the same shop, and I'm there, and she goes, hello, could you please help me? And nobody would help her. And I said to the girl, why aren't you helping me? She goes, she didn't make an effort. And I'm like, okay. And that was the whole thing I learned in France, is like, and I've been there many times. I always at least say bonjour. I screw up their language. I won't use my university French because it's apparently wrong French. And what I found was, as long as I make an effort, I'm good. Now I've been to Korea where we're not doing anything. But what we did do is we printed our cards in English and in Korean. So when we presented it properly with 2 hands and whatnot, we had translators and whatnot, and the businessmen that spoke it would speak back to us in English, because we made that effort. And that's what they would tell, even in Japan, we made the effort. And if they could speak, they would. Some of them would use the translator because it gave them extra think time. And that's what we found out. It's like, if you make the effort, people are okay. And that's what I think people forget. They think I'm an American. You have to speak English. No, I'm in your friggin' country. I have to speak your language. Like we went to the Ukraine, and I'd be like, we had, the phones didn't have really good translation back then. I'd be like, I don't like, and the girls and the guys would be like, oh, no, we speak English. I'm like, cool. But at least you're trying, and John, and you do too. John was picking up language left and right, and he would at least be able to say, hello, how are you in the language. And, they would at least appreciate that. And so, and I don't think if you don't travel, you don't know that. I mean, I don't mean if you travel from Tennessee to Missouri, that's not travel. You go from California to New York. I mean, you've got, or Canada or the United Kingdom. I mean, you have to go to a country where you're like, you don't understand Jack. So, we've been to the Middle East. We've been to Kuwait and Saudi and UAE and whatever. It's the same thing there. They all speak English, but you still have to be respectful of them, their cultures. And that's, people don't understand that. You just can't go over like the loud American. It doesn't work. And I don't think if you don't travel, you don't know.
or the loud Brit, because you always tell the Brits that you, I mean, when people can't understand what the Brits are saying, we just shout at them even louder, hoping that that's going to make the difference. But
yep.
I will say you've just kind of made all my points that I was hoping to make. So thank you, Steve.
Oh, that's the show. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
That's pretty.
But we're still waiting. We're still waiting for the questions.
Well, no. Well, Steve has rambled on about. I was going to say one of the best forms of education is travel, and you're absolutely right. And I had that exact. I've never had a problem in France because I love the language. Yep. I enjoy the place. I walk in there, and I don't bring myself. I expect. I'm there to explore. Yep. So bonjour, comment ça va? Ça va bien? You know, and I go and I learn and I speak. And you're right. The one French guy said to me, he says, well, look, thank you for making the effort, but I think my English is better than your French. So we'll do it in English. That's fine.
I tried to order a hamburger my first time there.
We began in French, and he thought that was fantastic. And the one guy, I remember this. It's a long story, but I was looking for something at the Gare du Nord in Paris, and I went to the information counter. And I said to the guy, excuse-moi, bonjour, où sont le toilette? And the guy, he thought it was hugely funny, and he pointed and told me where the toilets were. And I thought, why was that so funny? And then later, when my French got a bit better, I realized instead of saying le toilette, I should have said les toilettes, because I literally said, where's the toilet? Like there's one toilet. So, but he thought it was funny. It broke the ice. He enjoyed that I'd spoken to him. Ha ha ha. And then he immediately assumed his very aggressive demeanor with the French guy behind me. So it wasn't personal with me. Yep. You know, like, oh, well, you're English or you're American, they're gonna have a go at you. No, they won't. But if you come in there, as you say, Steve, and you just bring that bravado, like, I'm here and you must just speak my language, and the guy goes, well, we're in Paris. This is my city.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then after that, they will do. They can't do enough for you. Yeah.
Can you guys make sure that I get the memo? Because we're now working for the French tourist department, it would seem. So,
listen, if you're not reading your emails, we can't help you. That's all there is to it. Like, you know, we have a lot of emails.
Are we being paid? Are we being paid for this?
Yes, we're being paid by the French government now to bring people to Paris.
Well,
and then,
strictly speaking, the French thing, we're auditioning for the gig. This is a pitch.
That's true. That's right.
So I'm going to show them this and going to say, this is what can be done. What do you say? So we're not there
with our
yet.
12
New York, we got
listeners.
sewn up, so that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got our 12 global listeners.
Because I know we're not going to North Korea now. I'm sure of that.
No. We're not going to Missile Boy. No, we don't do Missile Boy.
Because Steve's already offended him.
Is it Rocket Man?
Rocket Man, Missile Boy, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
South Korea, though. Here's one funny story for South Korea. We get in the car with our driver. We're driving, and we're in down. This has got to be 25 years ago, 30 years ago. And the driver starts driving on the sidewalk. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? He goes, no, everybody does it. And then when I went back like 10 years ago, they have now these big potted things, so you can't drive on the sidewalk anymore. And I'm like, well, that's good, I think. And then when in Russia, our guy was, and John Philippot, you could tell you some stories and some other people, but when our client's driver would drive on the medium through the signs, you know, the poles that hold the big signs up, because traffic is so bad coming back and forth to the airport, he would drive that way. And then when we were in like the Baltic states, he would play on these country roads, chicken with dump trucks with our van that we were traveling in. And that was always fun. So yeah, that was sort of like, all right. And one of the guys that was with us named Leon says, I'm going to call my wife and tell her I love her. And I'm like, yeah, you should we may not make this trip. So yeah, it was, you know, and we tried we had an interpreter, because Russian and English, very different language. Like they would say good morning, we'd say good morning to the client, and our translator would go, you know, and we're like, all right, we're going to go to lunch. We'll come back. And then we'd come back, and he would be like, then she would say, he says good morning. But I was like, all right, that took like 45 minutes. And I just said, good morning. Is there more? You know, there's got to be more to it than that. But it was just interesting, because it was like, you know, like, good morning, what'd you guys do last night? And we'd be like, oh, you know, he would go to dinner, or how's everything going? We'd say it's good, like really short. And all of a sudden, 14 minutes later, we'd get the reply back. And I'm like, I got to believe it was more than just what you just told us. So, you know, it's just, you learn.
Funny you said about Russian. I've, as I say, I have zero experience like that, but I have noticed with the Russian language, people will go, blah, 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 hi, blah, 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 my feet are sore. It seems like there are a lot more words for the English version.
Yeah.
I've just noticed that it seems to have, you say that and it takes all those words to say that. I don't know if that's even accurate, but that just seems to be my impression. Whereas French seems to go really fast.
Yeah.
Russian seems to be quite deep and you know, it's very,
right.
It live in the back of the throat and it's lots of words for things. Don't know. Not sure. Maybe.
Yeah, no, I know. We were there and we would just sit there and it was like, oh, well, this is interesting. So it was like the first time we said like, hey, it's nice to meet you. And the translator was like, I will translate. And we're like, great. And like, excuse me, it's dinner time now. And we met at like 2 p.m. You know, it's like now 10 o'clock. Can you just in the hello be done quicker? So it was sort of that. And John picked up a little bit of Russian. So when the client would come in, he'd say hello and how are you for all of us. So we could bypass the translator and doing 16 hours of everything is good. So sort of like, that's interesting.
Wow, Russian.
Yeah.
Russian's a tough language. I've heard it's quite a tough language.
Oh, but everyone was nice.
You do find it a lot though that why people use English. It's the same here in Holland. To be like a whole load of words and where you could say it in one word in English. So you find that even they call it sort of like Turbo Dutch here, where they take out as many of the long Dutch sentences as they can and just insert English words in just because it's quicker and you don't have to think so much. So
how's your Dutch coming along there, Dave?
My Dutch is okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I started speaking in Afrikaans, you would understand me.
Some of it, not all of it.
Okay. So like, hoe gaan het?
It's like, hoe gaat het nou? Ja, het gaat goed eigenlijk.
Lekker. Zelf? Niet te slecht, niet?
Nee, helemaal niet slecht. En met jou, is het ook slecht met jou dan?
For you people at home, David's going to pull out his 9-iron and he's going to try to make it from a 30-meter and Roald is going to use his putter because he's on the green. Please continue, gentlemen. So, people on the podcast right now, I'm like, what the hell? I didn't switch the channel on the radio.
Yeah, no,
the people watching this on YouTube.
Bad.
Right. You just
I'm trying to get some money for the Dutch tourist department. That's
I see that apparently. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see. Well, we can help with that if you want. I don't mind. It's okay.
Yeah, that's not.
We can do the next time Roll's here. You guys do the whole show in Dutch. I'll just sit here and look pretty. That's my job anyway. Because I got this behind me.
Okay, well, it's certainly not my job. Yeah, but so what was I going to? I was going to talk to you about travel. So we did the travel thing, so that's fine. Don't you find though? It's frustrating.
We don't find. No, that's
you don't find.
No.
I was gonna, but just getting back
not
to
at our age anyway.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard. I'm envious of a stiff win, my friend. You know what I'm telling you? So.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah. Okay, go ahead, Dave. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say this is your show, and we're supposed to be interviewing you.
So you're supposed to ask me things, and I'm supposed to respond. That's
you're like the third member of the 2 old fart crew, so it doesn't really matter. So just keep going. You're good.
Yeah.
3 old farts.
I like it.
And
with gas.
We put two old farts and a boring DJ, but I don't think we can. Can we get it all?
Find a boring DJ.
And a good-looking South African world voice guy, because we got to get the.
You can't put world voice guy, Steve, because there's not enough space behind you to do that. That's the thing.
Oh,
exactly. Steve.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned something. The funny thing is, when I go to the UK, when I go and visit family, they obviously they hear all sorts of strange things in my accents, and they're not quite sure where I'm from. Some that are a bit more, I guess, educated have a stab at it. I mean, I worked on a radio station in London, never had a problem. And although there was an Australian who lasted a week, so they weren't happy with her and they got rid of her. But they never moaned about me. But they weren't sure where exactly I was from. They thought I sounded a bit poncy. In this country, here in South Africa.
Now you mention it. But
thank you very much. And here in South Africa, people always ask me where I'm from, because I don't seem to have a typical South African brogue. And when I lived in New York and I went to an audition, and I went to the guy said to me, he said, where are you from? And I said, I'm from South Africa. He says, no, you're not from South Africa. I went, oh, okay. Really? Where am I from then? I said, I was born in the UK. Oh, you're a Brit. And I said, not really. I've spent the majority of my life out the country. But But then I put on one of those, really type of accents. And he says, yeah, that's a South African. I said, no, it's not. I said, it's this crap you see in movies. Everybody thinks everyone in South Africa sounds like I don't know, half-baked Russian. It's really quite extraordinary.
Or a half-baked Australian.
Or a half-baked Australian. Well, no one, wow. And then they do these movies and they attempt, I got to say this I've got to put out there. And because South Africans seem to be cropping up in more and more Hollywood plot lines for some strange reason. And they always
you're probably very cheap to hire. That's what it is.
No, but they don't hire South Africans. They hire like
us.
They hire an American or they hire or an Englishman to do the accent. And some are not bad, but it really, it's overbaked. It's really, and the reason is very few people in the US have actually heard a normal South African accent. All they've heard are these ancient, national party apartheid politicians, and they all sounded like that. And then when I come along, they go, no, you're not from South Africa. And we go, yeah, I am actually. And do you know a singer called Matt Monro? You guys heard of a guy called Matt Monro? He was one of the greatest singers England ever produced, Steve. You should look him up. Do you know him? Does it ring a bell?
I do not know him personally.
He did From Russia With Love was probably one of his most famous things.
Okay, I know that song. Sure.
And he certainly could have been on this show, that's for sure.
Right. Now, Matt Monro, if you ever hear him being interviewed, he almost sounds like he's from South Africa. That's what's extraordinary. So the English, I wasn't raised Afrikaans. I was raised English. I went to English schools. In fact, the school I went to they used to call it Little England on the Veldt because all our teachers were from the UK. Our headmaster was from the UK, and it was a desperate attempt to preserve English something in South Africa.
The colony, sure.
Yeah, very much so. And if you had heard the way we spoke, you would have, as opposed to the rest of the people in the country, it was quite jarring. So when they look for a South African accent, this actually happened to me the other day, because you see, Dave, now we're talking about me because it's my show. And they sent me an audition from New York, and they said, look, could you do this particular audition with a South African accent? And I looked at it and I said to them, which one? And they went, well, the South African accent. And I said, there's probably about 15 or 16 of them. And then there are variations of each. And it depends on the language, the ethnicity, the background, so on and so forth. And they went, just do like the Euro thing. And I went, well, that's not really a South African accent, is it? And the strange thing is, the character that they were asking me to audition for was in fact a Zulu character. His name was Zweli, which literally means gift of God. And I said, it's going to be a bit strange if I do this English South African accent for what is essentially a Zulu South African character. Oh, we get it now. We did some research and we agree with you. But that, unfortunately, apart from Steve over there and yourself, Dave, who are well-traveled people, this is the problem with a lot of folk. They don't actually know a lot about the world. And they're quite fearful of it.
Did you get the part, by the way?
I said I wouldn't audition for it because it would have been a problem. I couldn't do that. I'm not going to do that in audition. Like, I'm not doing that. That's this, like blackface except for voice. I'm not going to do that. That's going to get me into trouble. So I went, no, thank you. And they went, oh no, we understand. I'm not sure if they did, but when they did their research, they would have discovered why I turned it down.
But Rob, on the radio, when you are Mr. Vega on the radio, do people, do they feel that you're a South African then, or is it the fact that you have this slightly different voice that makes you very, very pleasurable to listen to, because you have a fantastic voice, as we know. But but I mean,
make it for this, yes.
Yeah, well, you join the club, but I mean, is that what they like? Yeah. Do you think?
I'm considered. There are a lot of guys on radio here that were born in the UK that spent a lot of their childhood here, so they have this weird sort of hybrid accent, I guess, that I have as well. So I'm certainly not typically English, and I'm certainly not typically South African. I'm somewhere in the middle. For instance,
I can appreciate that, because I have the same issue. When I go to the UK, people say to me, "Are you South African?" You know, or are you
South African?
I know, or are you from New Zealand? Or because I speak so much Dutch.
Really?
Yeah. Then
Crikey.
people just can't quite get it.
Yeah,
So,
they need to get out more. But
Yeah.
this is how you can tell. Just a small little technical note. This is how you can tell. For instance, the difference between an Aussie and a Kiwi accent is quite easy. Get them to say the word middle. So an Aussie's going to go middle, and a Kiwi's going to go the muddle. And I guess an Afrikaans guy in South Africa will also go the muddle. So that's kind of why a lot of people confuse the Afrikaans accented English accent, if that makes sense, from South Africa, with a Kiwi accent, because they hit the eyes the same way. And it goes on and on and on. There's quite a few similarities. But I, as a kid, used to take drama classes and speech classes because my grandfather, who was an Englishman from Devon, was determined that I should not pick up the local brogue. And I was instructed on how to say my eyes. So it was middle, not muddle, or the difference, not the difference, things like that. Oh. So that's why my accent is weird.
Did you only have one leg then if you only had one brogue?
I beg your pardon.
Well, he's here all week, folks. Tip your wait staff and try the veal. Now, Mr. Vega, I have to ask you something.
Yes.
Do you have I want to make sure we don't put you over, but in 8 minutes, do you have a thing?
Do I have a thing? In about
you said you had it
20 minutes.
Okay.
I'll be fine.
I'll be fine. I didn't want you to be late.
Got a few minutes.
This is a very exciting thing. I'm sure we can't tell people what it is, but it's very exciting. So I'm looking forward to it.
We can say it's for the States. That we can.
Okay. Yes, we can say it.
And it's got some.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Stop horsing around, you two. You're trying to be crazy.
Exactly.
Boom.
And I have done it before, so it's a repeat business.
Whoa. How many kids do you have?
And they're just about to leave. I had two. They're just about to leave the house, so that's it.
Really?
So
Are you sad?
I have two. Yes, very much so.
Only because they keep coming back, I think.
Right. Well, we have a 12-year-old, and basically every time he leaves for school, we keep packing extra stuff like food and clothing and go, no. You don't have to come back in like 6-7 years. It's good. It's good. Wow. Yeah, we gave him a map from 1900. We gave him a map from 1803 and said, no, just follow this. You'll get home without a problem. Yeah. He always finds his way back, but we love him.
Please hesitate to come back. No,
they're called boomerang children, Stephen. That's what it is.
Well, he's 12, so he better be a boomerang child till he's 18. But now he wants to be a model/actor. So now we're going to help him into that thing and let him be a model/actor. So I'm very excited.
Actor, does that mean, is he going to go into these sort of horror movies then? Is that what it is?
I'm not sure, but he does really good in his school plays. So now we're like, all right, go be an actor, be a model. Because mom was a famous actress model back in the day in Singapore. So, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Yeah. Oh yeah. You didn't know.
I did not know that.
No, that's a whole nother show, Stephen.
Oh, that's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show.
And you know my wife. So yeah, she back in the day was she won Singapore's equivalent to Top America's Got Talent type thing. But there you have to win singing, dancing, interviewing, and acting.
And you were a judge, were you? Is that how that works?
Hey now. And in China, I think the China one, which was all of Asia, she came in second. And the Singapore one, she came in first. And then there's she made a couple of movies she in the States, and she made a whole bunch of television series and soap operas in Singapore as well. Oh yeah, that's a whole other show. That's a whole show we should just have with her.
I was going to say, why are we talking to Rob Vega? That's what I want to know.
So, because getting her
I'm
to
wondering
do
the same
that
thing myself. Yeah,
is an event. Listen, we talk to you because we've talked to your agent, and what we pay to have you on, we like that price.
When's the movie coming? When's the movie coming?
Which movie?
Well,
which movie?
Yeah, you're obviously going to be in a movie now.
Oh, me? No.
No, not Stephen. I mean, Mr. Vega, of course.
I've been in some. Yeah.
I know you've been in some, mate. We read the memo, but
I was in a movie called Bambi Does It for a Buck. It was a great movie. That was very cool. Yeah. There was another one, Got You Out of My Heart, Can't Get You Out of My Apartment. That was fun. I enjoyed that one. And then Mama's a Rolling Stone, Now Daddy's a Pebble. So those were I starred in all three of those. They were very good movies. You probably have seen them because they were like critically acclaimed.
Yeah. Stephen,
yes. Acclaim, not sure. Yeah.
Stephen, you should be on the stage sweeping.
I know there's one leaving in 10 minutes. I'm well aware. So yes. So
Where is this going? Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we don't know. We don't know because we're still waiting for the questions. That's what we only we only joined the show today for the questions, which we haven't.
The best part about interviewing and being with you is it's like being with one of our mates, and both of you. It's like being with my mates, having a scotch and cigar at a gentleman. And when I say gentleman's club, I mean old school club where you read papers and talk and play chess, and like the library gentleman's club, not a gentleman's club where Bambi's throwing her double quadruple D's in my face. So I enjoy that. So when we're all together, just shooting the shit, if you will, is awesome. So yeah.
Is there an issue that I can't read? I've forgotten how to do that.
You've forgotten how to read.
Yeah. So yeah. And I'm not Scottish either, so I'll have to come as a cigar.
Wow.
Yeah, this is good. That's this kind of show. You know, the really cool thing, and I will say this, that's why we have you back. So like when we stop recording, we're going to actually book him for another thing, because just having him back is just a blast. I don't care if no one listens. This is more for me. I just enjoy this. I enjoy the three of us together. When we have artists, we're going to have world famous chefs coming.
I saw that movie.
Which one's that?
I enjoy the three of us together.
There's a pizza boy involved there too. Boom, check a wow. Anyway, there you go. But we have like next week and the week after, we have some famous chefs coming on, and some people like that. And with them, it's kind of like we can't have as much fun because they're not as goofy.
Is that the Swedish chef? Are we having him on?
Yes, we're going to have him and Kermit going. You can do Kermit better. So there you go.
Hey everybody! Hi everybody!
There you go.
Hey.
Did I ever do the Taken thing for you? Have we done that?
Yeah, you did.
Do it again though.
Did I?
With Kermit the Frog. Yes, you did that. The very first show we did with you.
Back in the first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do it
again.
I mean, even I can remember. Even I can remember that.
Even you, Dave. All right.
Even David, who can't remember the name.
Okay.
But David can't remember the name of the show. So the fact that this is awesome.
So for anybody that didn't see the first one, which is fairly likely because as Steve said, we just do this podcast for ourselves, which is actually what you should do as a performer. You shouldn't worry about what is he doing. You shouldn't worry about your audience. I know that's a strange thing to say, but especially if you're doing comedy or stage, don't worry about your audience, because if you worry about your audience, what am I talking about now? I was going to do Kermit. You shouldn't worry about your audience. Just enjoy it for yourself. So Kermit, here it comes. So if you've ever seen the movie Taken, you know, Liam Neeson, what happens, blah, blah, blah. So what you do is you take his little speech to the guys on the phone and you plug that into Kermit, and then you get,
I don't have any money, but what I do have is a special set of skills. I will find you. I will hunt you down. And I will kill you.
Good luck. There you
go. That tears to my eyes. I don't know why you're not winning an Academy Award for this. That's all I know.
You should have your own radio show or something.
You do. You should be on a show like this, like more often.
Yeah.
A podcast. Exactly. With some like 12 thoughts. Yeah, exactly.
There you go. You know, it's really funny. Like I said, this is for us. And here's what's really, I will tell you, because nobody really cares. And like I said, this is all for us. So we started out with like 0. I think I have 155 listeners. We always joke we have 12 globally. We've got one video. One of our artists does his daily art that went up to 55,000 views, which is pretty good for a show that nobody had ever heard of. And his other videos get somewhere between, say, 1,500 and 2,500. And Connor Akers, will be on, well, we're going to do an interview with him, I think, on the 6th or the 7th of October, which will be on toward the end of October. And he'll be doing... for all the kids at home, he'll have a live model, and he'll be drawing her and sketching her. It's the same girl that's in the video that's on our channel. And so it's very interesting. So all these, like you, famous people from around the world that really could do something and whatever, like our little channel, because I think it's just, we're not like trying to be anything that we're not. We're really just, it's here, have a good time, promote yourself, and we'll shoot the shit for a few hours, and then that's it. And then, that's all it's all about.
But Mr. Vega, you told us before we came on, you are currently doing the breakfast drive show. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Breakfast is morning, drive is afternoon. But yes, that's right.
Okay. I was going to say,
6 to 9. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay. I don't expect you to know that.
Is breakfast easier then? Because you only have to cook in the mornings. You don't have to drive a car.
Yes. It's super easy. It's just me and 5,000 things I have to do in 3 hours. It couldn't be simpler.
And now, how many listeners listen to you in the morning?
Well, we don't. We don't listen to him.
Well, that's because it's not morning where I am.
Well, you don't count. Yeah, you don't count, Dave. It's fine. I don't know, 300,000-400,000, somewhere around that.
Oh wow.
Wow. And then he comes here for 100 people. That's like that's
what, Steve?
That's
if I come for one person, that's all that matters. That's what I've always said.
I'm nearly going to make it.
I just need one.
I was going to make a joke about you coming for one person.
It's going to be that kind of show. This is like so.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm waiting.
For 300,000.
Wait. I want to say in response to that, Dave, I'm going to give you my little strapline, but it can work for the show too. Two old farts making noises. The show that promises you nothing, and we deliver.
I love it because expectations are really low, as it says behind me.
There you go. Exactly.
That's our slogan.
Promise you nothing.
We promise nothing. We promise maybe you'll laugh and have a good time. Now, we have a cooking show coming up with a lady who makes these cheese balls out of Brazil that people will actually learn. And then we've got 3 or 4 chefs, but I know we have one chef coming on that in America was on like Top Chef. I mean, I think he won it or came in second. He's actually going to do a cooking demonstration. And that's coming up. Nice. So like all these people that mostly because of my wife or I may know that say, hey, I want to come on and do this because it'll be fun. And there's no pressure. In fact, one chef said to me, what do I have to pay you guys to come on and promote myself? I'm like, it's free. He's like, really? I'm like, why would you pay me? That's like, we're a little YouTube channel.
Do you know about the show? Do you know about this show?
Have you seen the links I sent you? Why would you pay us? So all these people are coming on. It's the artists come on, the music. It's very nice. And you come on, which is nice because we just get to talk. And there's nothing like, there's no agenda, which is, I prefer. And we just, hang out. It's like I said, hanging out with your mates, which is great. So all day long,
that's it. That'll be the fun
always have you back.
I very much hope that we'll reach the stage where we never have to ask anybody to pay to come on the show, then we can keep the format, it's a glorified dinner party.
Beyond, you're going to need new guests.
That's what we just need people to come on. That's why we tell people people that don't know us, we're like, think of this. You're at a dinner party and you get stuck with us sitting next to you. Now you're screwed. And that's the show. We're just going to ask you questions. That's how you do it.
And the thing is, Rob, that if you joined us, it would be like the Bermuda Triangle for any of the guests, wouldn't it? And be stuck between the three of us.
That's right. That's another, the Bermuda Triangle. There's something in there.
Oh, we should have talked about that. That's awesome.
I'm feeling there's something in there that's worth exploring, definitely.
The Bermuda Triangle, and then you got the Asian Triangle. Then there's a triangle in Lake Michigan. And then I know I saw a triangle the other day. The guy was playing it in a symphony. So there's a lot of them.
Golden Triangle.
So just try to help out.
Research Triangle. There you go.
The Research Triangle, North Carolina, sure. But no, we should talk about we should have a whole show on UFOs.
Let's do that. I'm going to write that down.
It's no good. It's no good you writing it down because you can't remember it when you come on. So
that's why I write it down.
Buy the guy a post-it or something. Put a post-it up.
You know what I said to him on Sunday? I said, "Hey, don't forget you got the show on Sunday." He goes, "Do I have a Zoom link?" I go, "I sent it to you like 2 weeks ago." He goes, "I found it." He goes, "Not to worry." And I wrote, "No, now I'm worried." I go, "Remember, you're asking us questions." He goes, "I am." I'm like, "Okay, this is gonna be good." So then here we are, and we have and here's the best part. We talk about some serious stuff, we goof around, and before you know it, an hour plus is already done, and it's like it's beauty. And anyone who listened will have smiled and laughed and disagreed and whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like, that was fun. It's like just hanging out. And that's what I think every show should basically be. Now, some shows with artists and cooks is a little different because they're showing us stuff. But
because Steve, all of this, none of it matters.
That's very true.
Exactly.
None of it matters.
And
it couldn't be more inconsequential. Yeah.
And on that point, Stephen, just pull the plug on him and
Okay.
Never.
Gentlemen, I have to go.
So get some rest.
No, he has to go do his job now.
You're not horsing around still, are you? There you go.
I am horsing around.
Say good night, David.
Good night, David.
Cheers. Thank you.